I'm talking to you! What do you say? Huh? Huh? I'm talking to you!
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
We killed you! Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute!
You have the right to an attorney?
What is this shit?
Imagine, for a moment, the sound of hydraulic pistons and whirring servos as a metal foot takes its first step. The year was 1987, and cinema was about to witness the birth of a different kind of hero, one that was part man, part machine, and all cop. In the late 1980s, while Hollywood was churning out straightforward action blockbusters, a Dutch provocateur named Paul Verhoeven arrived with a twisted vision of America's future. Robocop emerged in a fascinating period between Ridley Scott's Blade Runner and James Cameron's The Terminator, a time when science fiction was grappling with questions of humanity in an increasingly mechanical world. What's remarkable is that this film, made for a modest $13 million, wasn't just another B-movie destined for late-night cable. Robocop exploded at the box office, raking in $53 million, and spawning a franchise that would include sequels, television series, and countless pieces of merchandise. But commercial success only tells part of the story. Behind its chrome-plated exterior and explosive action sequences, Robocop was something far more subversive. In the guise of a crowd-pleasing shooter, Verhoeven crafted a biting satire of corporate greed, American excess, and the increasing mechanization of society. The story of Officer Alex Murphy's death and resurrection as Robocop wasn't just about a cyborg dispensing justice. It was a dark mirror reflecting the anxieties of Reagan's America back at itself. While audiences came for the spectacle of a robot cop cleaning up Detroit streets, they found themselves watching a deeply human story about identity, free will, and what it means to lose both. It's this combination of visceral entertainment and intellectual depth that makes Robocop not just a product of its time, but a film that becomes more relevant with each passing year. As we dive deeper into this masterpiece of subversive cinema, we'll explore how a film about a chrome-plated cop became one of the most cutting commentaries on American culture ever committed to celluloid. From its groundbreaking special effects to its theological undertones, Robocop is a film that demands to be taken apart and examined, piece by cybernetic piece. So, strap in as we explore this landmark film that dared to ask not just, can we rebuild him, but should we? And at what cost? Let's examine how Robocop became not just the future of law enforcement, but a crucial piece of science fiction cinema that continues to resonate over 3 decades later. Detroit's gleaming towers cast long shadows over crime-ridden streets, while the whir of servos accompanies the metallic footsteps of our chrome-plated protagonist. Robocop's technical achievements weren't just groundbreaking, they were necessary to sell its twisted vision of a corporate-controlled future. At the heart of these achievements was Rob Bottin's revolutionary Robocop suit. Crafted with an obsessive attention to detail, the suit wasn't just a costume, it was a character in itself. Taking nearly 8 hours to put on, it forced Peter Weller to adapt his entire performance. Every movement had to be precisely calculated, every gesture deliberately mechanical, yet somehow human. The suit's weight and restrictions weren't limitations. They became essential to Robocop's signature movement style. Verhoeven's European art film sensibilities transformed what could have been a straightforward action film into something far more complex. His camera lingers on violence not for entertainment, but for impact. The death of Murphy isn't just shocking, it's deliberately prolonged, forcing viewers to confront the brutality rather than simply consuming it as entertainment. This approach carries through the entire film, where every bullet, impact, and explosion serves the larger narrative of corporate violence and dehumanization. The film's visual language speaks volumes through its architecture and composition. OCP's towering headquarters dominates the Detroit skyline, a physical manifestation of corporate power looming over the city. The sterile corporate boardrooms contrast sharply with the industrial decay of old Detroit, creating a visual hierarchy that reinforces the film's themes of class warfare and corporate exploitation. Perhaps nowhere is the film's technical mastery better displayed than in the ED-209 sequences. Phil Tippett's stop-motion animation brings this clumsy, yet terrifying corporate enforcer to life. The boardroom demonstration scene perfectly encapsulates the film's blend of horror and dark humor, with ED-209's malfunction serving as both a spectacular piece of effects work and a cutting commentary on corporate oversight. The film's violence, while excessive, serves a deliberate purpose. Each graphic sequence is filmed with an almost documentary-like attention to detail. Verhoeven doesn't turn away from the carnage. He forces us to confront it. This approach transforms what could have been simple action sequences into powerful statements about the nature of violence and its role in maintaining corporate power. Even the sound design adds layers of meaning. The mechanical whir of Robocop's movements, the synthetic voice, the thunder of gunfire. Each sound effect was carefully chosen to build this world. The metallic footsteps of Robocop carry weight, both literally and metaphorically, while the artificial sounds of his voice serve as a constant reminder of his hybrid nature. Cinematographer Jost Vacano's work deserves special mention. His use of Dutch angles and low-angle shots makes Robocop tower over scenes, while POV shots through Robocop's visor create an unsettling blend of human and machine perspectives. The neon-lit streets of Detroit become a character themselves, creating a world that feels both familiar and dystopian. This technical virtuosity wasn't just showing off. It was essential to selling the film's core concept. Every practical effect, every carefully composed shot, every sound effect worked together to create a world that felt real enough to carry the weight of its satirical message. Robocop's technical achievements weren't just groundbreaking for their time. They created a template for how to use effects in service of story rather than as mere spectacle. No discussion of Robocop would be complete without acknowledging the stellar performances that gave this mechanical tale its beating human heart. At the center stands Peter Weller, whose portrayal of Murphy Robocop remains a masterclass in physical acting. What many don't know is that Weller spent months studying mime and dance under Mani Yakim to develop Robocop's distinctive movements. Every mechanical turn, every precise gesture was choreographed to suggest both machine efficiency and the lingering humanity beneath the chrome. Nancy Allen's Officer Ann Lewis breaks from the typical action movie female sidekick trope. Her Lewis is tough, capable, and refreshingly free from romantic subplot obligations. She serves as Robocop's connection to humanity, but never at the expense of her own character development. The partnership between Lewis and Murphy, both before and after his transformation, grounds the film's more outlandish elements in genuine human connection. Then there's Kurtwood Smith's unforgettable turn as Clarence Boddicker. Smith transforms what could have been a standard-issue villain into one of cinema's most memorable antagonists. His casual cruelty and businessman-like approach to crime make him the perfect embodiment of the film's themes about the thin line between corporate and criminal behavior. The scene where he mockingly reads Murphy his rights before killing him remains one of cinema's most chilling moments. Ronnie Cox rounds out the principal cast as Dick Jones, delivering corporate evil with chilling efficiency. His portrayal of OCP's senior president is particularly relevant today. The smiling face of corporate malevolence, equally comfortable in boardrooms and orchestrating assassinations. The way he switches from smooth executive to snarling villain showcases the duality at the heart of corporate power. The film's most powerful scenes emerge from the interplay between these performances. Murphy's death scene is horrifying, not just for its violence, but for the way Weller conveys Murphy's desperate humanity in his final moments. The baby food scene, where Robocop returns to his family home, achieves its emotional impact through Weller's subtle physical performance. conveying volumes of loss and confusion through minimal movement. The iconic "your move" creep moment works because Weller manages to make it both mechanical and satisfying. A perfect blend of human justice and robotic efficiency. The boardroom demonstration disaster, where ED-209 malfunctions, succeeds because of how the actors play it straight, making the dark comedy land all the harder. These performances elevate Robocop beyond simple sci-fi action. Through their work, themes of identity, memory, and humanity are explored not through exposition, but through character. Whether it's Murphy struggling to remember his family, Lewis recognizing her partner beneath the chrome, or Bodeker's sneering disdain for human life, each performance adds layers to the film's exploration of what makes us human. The casting process itself reflects the film's themes. Weller wasn't the first choice. Rutger Hauer and Michael Ironside were both considered. But Weller's background in theater and his willingness to completely inhabit the physical constraints of the role proved essential to making Robocop more than just a man in a suit. The character needed to be both machine and man, and Weller's thoughtful approach to this duality made it work. When Robocop first stormed into theaters in 1987, critics and audiences weren't quite sure what to make of it. Here was a film that looked like a straightforward action movie, but played like a European art film dipped in satirical acid. Initial reviews were polarized. Some dismissed it as excessive violence, while others recognized the subversive brilliance lurking beneath its metallic surface. The film's path to release was anything but smooth. The original cut received an X rating from the MPAA, forcing Verhoeven to repeatedly edit some of the more graphic scenes. The director's battles with the ratings board became legendary, with Verhoeven adding more violent shots to later distract from the ones he actually wanted to keep. The notorious ED-209 boardroom scene alone went through multiple iterations before finding its sweet spot between shocking and satirical. Time has been kind to Robocop, with its reputation growing steadily over the decades. What once might have seemed like over-the-top satire now feels surprisingly prophetic. The film's vision of a city controlled by corporations, militarized police forces, and media manipulation feels less like science fiction and more like documentary with each passing year. Beneath the film's chrome-plated surface lie fascinating details that reveal its deeper themes. The Christ imagery is particularly striking. Murphy's death pose mimics the crucifixion, he walks on water in one scene, and his resurrection serves as a mechanical messiah for a corporate age. The news breaks and commercial interludes, initially seen as mere comedy relief, now stand as brilliant pieces of world building that predicted the rise of infotainment and corporate propaganda. The different versions of the film tell their own story about changing attitudes toward on-screen violence. The theatrical cut, while still intense, toned down some of the more graphic elements. The director's cut, released years later, restored Verhoeven's original vision, including the extended sequences of Murphy's death and ED-209's malfunction. Each version offers a slightly different perspective on the film's themes of violence and humanity. Perhaps most interesting is how the film's political commentary has evolved. What started as a critique of Reagan-era policies now seems to address universal concerns about corporate power and technological overreach, the privatization of public services, the militarization of law enforcement, and the dehumanizing effects of corporate culture. These themes resonate even more strongly today than they did in 1987. Hidden within the film are countless small details that reward repeated viewing. The names of the street gangs reference historical Detroit criminal organizations. Murphy's son watches a TV show called TJ Laser, which influences Robocop's gun-spinning technique, and the news segments contain subtle references to then-current events that add layers of meaning to the film's satire. These elements have contributed to Robocop's elevation from summer blockbuster to cultural touchstone. What was once seen as a violent action movie is now regularly taught in film schools as an example of masterful satirical filmmaking. The film's transformation in public consciousness mirrors Murphy's own journey, from something seemingly straightforward to something far more complex and human. Robocop's influence extends far beyond its chrome-plated surface, resonating even more powerfully today than in 1987. Its DNA can be found throughout modern cinema, from superhero origin stories like Iron Man to contemporary sci-fi films like Upgrade, all exploring the costs of melding human and machine. In the realm of cyberpunk, the film stands as a crucial bridge between Blade Runner's neon noir aesthetics and modern corporate dystopias. Its vision of privatized public services and corporate dominance over government feels less like science fiction and more like prophecy. When we discuss automated law enforcement, corporate surveillance, or AI ethics today, Robocop remains a touchstone for these conversations. The film's satirical elements, from media manipulation to corporate propaganda, read like a blueprint for our current reality. What once seemed like over-the-top parody now feels uncomfortably close to home. News broadcasts that blur entertainment and propaganda, corporate interests overriding public good, and the militarization of law enforcement all mirror our contemporary concerns. Most significantly, Robocop's central question about maintaining humanity in an increasingly automated world speaks directly to modern anxieties. As we navigate a reality of algorithmic decision-making and artificial intelligence, Murphy's struggle to retain his human identity despite his programming resonates more deeply than ever. The film has transcended its origins as an action movie to become a cultural shorthand for discussions about technology's role in society. Its warnings about unchecked corporate power and the dehumanizing effects of technology aren't relics of the 1980s. They're the very issues that define our current moment. In an era of advancing AI and increasing corporate influence, Robocop's message about preserving our humanity in the face of technological progress remains vitally relevant. It reminds us that in our rush to embrace the future, we must never lose sight of what makes us human. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Paul Verhoeven's prophetic masterpiece. Robocop continues to patrol the boundaries between man and machine, warning us about tomorrow while entertaining us today. If you enjoyed this analysis of 80s sci-fi that saw the future coming, make sure to hit subscribe. We've got more videos exploring the films that shaped our culture and predicted our present.